Welcome to episode 20 of Paranormal Unwrapped with Krista Raisa and Jack Roth. Krista is a channel for Orion Council, Ascension teacher, and artist. Jack is an investigative journalist, author, and award-winning filmmaker. Today we are interviewing Von Galt, QHHT practitioner and author of Buddhist Guide to Manifest Parallel Realities. In this segment, we are discussing what starseeds and indigo are, what is their purpose in the awakening and ascension process of humanity, and how does that help with Earth's ascension? We will talk about the struggle that starseeds and indigos have in adapting to humanity and how it feels like they are on a travel visa. 2, what is a spiritual awakening? What is ascension? And how does it produce Mandela effects according to Tibetan Buddhism? How do starseeds and indigos infuse their awakening and ascension into their everyday lives? Guys, this is amazing. So what is going to be happening on this spaceship planet Earth, guys? What is going on, Jack? I'm so excited to have Vaughn on today.
Yeah, I am too. I as we always do our research beforehand, and I saw some interviews with you, Vaughn, and it was fascinating. I was so excited to kind of talk about some of these things because last couple of shows, well, I shouldn't say I've been more negative. I have to say, because of some of the research I'm doing for a new project I'm working on, it's really cool, but it's more on the humanity as the pathology of humanity, if you will, and the current state of the world that we're in. Now, this is the opposite of that, of kind of like, and I'm sure we're going to get into that kind of, well, what are the obstacles what are the obstacles to ascension? What are the things that we really struggle with here in this planet? So anyway, long story short, Chris, I promise I'm not going to be negative today. Because I got scolded by Vivian last time it was good though. It was a good conversation. But anyway, yes, Vaughn, really good to have you here.
Thank you for having me, you two. I'm really excited to get the information out. And I'm usually kind of a hermit. I kind of retreat into my own world and try not to stay in the limelight. But some of the archangels are coming through my QHHT sessions and kind of arguing with me to get back into this. So here I am. Everybody else is doing wonderful work, by the way.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
It's hard to argue with archangel energy. We were just talking before the show. That's not the topic of today. Did you want to tell us a little bit about what it is? I'm sure most people here know what is QHHT. I've just made a video called The 3 Waves of Volunteers in the New Earth. So I'm sure our viewers know quantum healing hypnosis therapy. But you've written several books on flower energy, but also on Buddhism. How did you get started in this work?
Yeah, so on myself, again, I'm Von Galt, and I live here in Washington. And I'm just a normal, really, there's nothing special about me. I'm just a normal working mom who happens to work in IT. And on the side, I write books on topics that are interesting to me, just for residual income. And metaphysics is a topic that I've grown up in and I'm very familiar with and that I love. And basically my journey into studying the ascension of Earth, I've had 40 years of studying how consciousness changes our reality through the Tibetan Mahayana Buddhism from my upbringing. And I've used that in my life to manifest the reality that I want. And then about 20 years ago, many Buddhist monks were starting to provide themselves as a resource and kind of getting information out to academia and providing them as a resource for meditation, for mindfulness, for consciousness studies, to try to get enough information to kind of prove this stuff. Is it real? Is it not real? And, just get it out into mainstream. And so they can infuse it into every area of their lives if possible. And so I've been following those academic works and writing the blog articles about between 2011 and 2012 on Facebook on my timeline between 2011 to 2012, and lots of sleepless nights. And then one thing that happened that I'd never expected was people started to wake up. And people started to have awakenings and started to be confused about these Mandela effects or shifts in their reality. And I've had that, but I never really thought that other people would have it. So all of a sudden, my knowledge became current. And so, so in my research into one of the topics of metaphysics, which is energy healing, I'm familiar with Reiki, which came from the Buddhist monk in Japan. I'm familiar with Reiki, Qigong, and other Eastern modalities of energy healing and tapping into that energy field. But I started to research many Western doctors who was also tapping into that field for their modality of energy healing. And I settled on Dolores Cannon's QHHT modality because it provided me an opportunity to talk to the Oversoul directly about the ascension of work of Earth and about the Wheel of Dharma that the client is going through. So that's that. I've been doing QHHT for the last 5 years. And a lot of the type of clients that I get here in Seattle, I think it's just the area, are a lot of tech people, a lot of engineers, scientists, and many of them are old souls, or what, Dolores would call indigos, and many are starseeds, and they're just coming here to be part of the awakening and ascension of Earth, because it doesn't really happen very often that a whole planet or a whole universe levels up its frequency and changes to another reality. And so they came here to do that, but they're kind of confused, and they feel like they're on a travel visa, and they're confused about the planet and the people in there, because we're kind of very primitive in how we treat each other and how we handle the Earth. So a lot of this is just really new to them, and they're just really confused of how do I adjust when everybody's just so foreign to me.
Right. Yeah, they kind of feel like they don't belong here, right? Krista and I, we've talked about that, and I think a lot of starseeds and indigo, as you call it, and I've heard a lot about indigo children, which I guess now when you just grow up, you become an indigo adult, and you become so you're kind of growing through a lifespan. But you get a lot of these people who are involved in the daily bustle. Seattle's a great city. It's got a ton of energy. It certainly has it's a good level of what I would say spiritualism and progressiveness. But there's also a lot of, you said these people are coming from, these jobs where they're just in the daily grind, right? So what is it like for people, for both people who might be indigos and starseeds, but also other people who are feeling something, and then they come to you? What are they saying to you? And then how does this work? So that they would come, what would they say to you when they come to you? Look, I'm just feeling out of sorts. I'm feeling these things. And then you start with the QHHT work.
Yeah. So if they reach out to me and it's funny, the people who reach out to me are being guided through synchronicity through the angels. I actually had somebody who reached out to me, and she said her message she left a voice message at 3:33 p.m. So I was like, oh, great, somebody's angels brought them. So I gave her a call, and she said that she wanted to get a session for her son, who lives in a small town, in the suburbs of Seattle. And she said that I was one on the top of the stack, and so she reached out. However, nowhere in my profile said where my hometown that I grew up in was. And I'm the only person of the whole registry that's from that town. So she picked the only QHHT practitioner that's from the town her son is at. So it's just very synchronistic. So, but anyways, he again is coming for many of the same types of themes and reasons, which is, how do I address my abundance blocks that are holding down my energy, and remove those unbalanced perspectives and raise my energy up so that I can attract to myself the best version of who I'm supposed to be and have the best life and experience here on spaceship Earth, by raising my frequency and helping myself, and not only helping myself, but helping others through being a higher frequency. And that's really what they want to do. And by everyone who comes to me when they address their abundance blocks and kind of have their personal awakening, and start raising the level of consciousness, they start attracting to themselves the next best higher experience that their soul groups are communicating and putting in line for them through synchronicity. And then their life becomes a little magical, because their soul groups and the angels are working with them all the time to put the next best thing in their way. And because they worked on their abundance blocks, and the childhood traumas, the inner work, the dark night of the soul, whatever you want to call it, because they work on those things that have maybe prevented them from personal growth, and those are no longer distraction, now they can actually work on the good stuff.
Is that the sort of this is what they're coming to you about for the sessions, but are the answers that the oversoul is giving? Have you seen a trend or a pattern in those messages of the client who come to you specifically?
Right. So the oversoul is never, from my experience, not going to give clients an exact answer what to do or how to do it. Because, and people ask, what do I do next? How should I do it? And the oversoul, when we get to the part in talking to the oversoul, it always gives them suggestions. Like if they're really good at animals and they were thinking about getting into veterinarian work, it will suggest that you really do find a lot of joy working with animals. So you should pursue that if you want to start that work. If they wanted to start a small business, it will give them suggestions of maybe start small and start working with one client at a time, doing a good job and building a book of business, a good referral base. So it'll give them like really sensible, logical recommendations. And as they do that, then their soul groups and their angels can start putting in line the next thing for them as they start that path, whether it's about their personal relationships or their career goals or, whatever, thing that they're working on. But the thing is, the oversoul is not, the reason why it's not going to give you exactly their answer to tell you what to do is because it will remind you that there would be no point in splitting off into all these different facets of different types of people in order for it to learn from itself, because we're all one and we're all connected to the one universal mind. If it did everything for you, then there will be no point to you incarnating and having your own personal experience.
That's so true. That's so true.
You have to do your work. You can't be lazy. Everybody's got a certain time frame here. So whether it's 80 years, 100 years, 120 years, whatever their time that they have here is, you can make the time that you have here wonderful and enriching, and work on your issues and work on manifesting the best life you have while you're here, and leave with maybe an enlightened contribution to the world. When you leave, or you can, spin your wheels the whole time and hopefully not create suffering and negative karma for you to maybe pick back up and resolve in future lifetimes if you choose to incarnate in this reality or another reality in the physical.
And we still have plenty of time to talk about the struggles, because we, as healers, I'm sure, Vaughn, you relate, is we want to go into, like with Vivian's interview last week, we were going into the solutions already. So Jack, hold us back for a minute, because I'm about to go into Vaughn's I wanted to share the 4 noble truths that she already shared online. I'm so excited about the Tibetan Buddhism part, but before that, and getting through the suffering, this is just Vaughn has so much information, guys. You have to go to her website, merkabachakras.com. There's a lot of more blog articles and videos and QHHT interviews, of course. And so, as you know, she's done this for 40 years, so it's her whole life. And I have so many questions about the higher dimensions and the experience. But just to kind of inform people who are still worried if they are starseeds and they've not gone to a hypnosis session before, they don't know what this is. How would you define, or what do you think? What do you both think that the indigo, is there a difference between someone with an indigo aura? Because indigo is typically associated with the third eye, right? That you're very psychic, the truth. When someone's lying to you, you may be very highly intelligent in a certain topic. You might have a certain clairvoyance, very active, very strong, or multiple ones. Is there a difference between that and the wave 2 of starseed volunteer souls? Do you think they have something in common?
Well, you know, honestly, it's all the same. It's just a matter of frequency. Okay, so whether you're a really, really old soul that has multiple incarnations in this reality or other physical dimensional realities in different planets, or if you can't, or if you never had a physical incarnation and you were maybe an energy being, a planet, you were maybe a ring of Saturn, maybe you were an elemental, maybe you were existing in the different higher dimensions. It really doesn't matter, because when you come here, you're in the same platform, and you get everything. But when you come here, everybody radiates at a certain level of consciousness. So some babies will come at a 200 level of consciousness. Some babies will come at 300 or 400 level. You know, it's all going to be the same, slightly different. And so where we left off, you know, as you work on your unbalanced perspectives and awaken, ascend consciousness, you radiate at the same level of frequency as others who in this game a little bit longer have achieved a level of consciousness. So no one's special. We need to get special, because that specialness is a symptom of the ego.
Right.
Feel better about yourself. And what Starseeds, Indigos, and all these different type of incarnations have to do with this is everybody's got the same choice, and very few will choose that choice. But you know, just being part of the awakening section and learning how does a planet raise its frequency, or a universe raises its frequency and then shifts to a parallel reality as a higher version for himself, that in and of itself has great lessons that they can take home with them when they finish this earthly incarnation and go back to their lives as elementals, as starseeds, as whatever that they were before. They will bring that information with them, and that there will be a reference point for everybody in that soul group, so that when they maybe are a part of another ascension process on another universe or another planet, they can reference like, okay, when you were a human, how did they do that? But for a couple people, they might even go all the way into Buddhahood, which is because there's different levels of consciousness that people go up to, and some people go up to 500 or 600. Actually, Dr. David R. Hawkins, one of the top mental health doctors in the U.S., spent his life creating the map of consciousness to measure the different frequency of level of different people. And he found through his life work of kinesiology, maybe about 20% of people are integrous. They have courage and integrity. Everybody else is still working on it. Maybe about 22% of humanity, it can actually be a good barometer for truth. Many people can't take advantage of, so they can't see that energy. But anyway,
because that seems about right, about 22%, right? I mean, that's how it feels. I think for people who are on this path, and do feel that, they must feel like, again, kind of like they're in a foreign place, because most people, it's hard to have conversations sometimes, and unless you meet someone that, like you mentioned, synchronicity and frequency, right? So we're all on the same, I wouldn't say, well, we're all on this path, right? So we're having this really cool conversation. But in a normal day, for most people, who are they talking to, right? And that's what. But one question I did want to ask you: when you're working with these people, and you work with a lot of people, and it's all this energetic work, how does it affect you? Is it something that does it raise your energy level, or is it something that depletes it a little bit, so that you have to do your own work to get it back up? I mean, how does that work?
Well, 4 hours goes by really fast for me. A lot of my clients, when they go through a session, they will be surprised that they've been under for 2, maybe 2.5, 3 hours, because it only feels like 20 minutes. Because when you're in the higher consciousness, time condensed and very fast. And then when you get back into the 3D world, into your body and back into this reality, they're always surprised that this time passed. I'm like, how it didn't even feel like 2-3 hours. It felt like 20 minutes or 10 minutes. But then they look at the recordings, and that is exactly true. what I find interesting is when after a session, I write a summary for them so they can review that as well as listen to the session. Because sometimes it's easier to read the summary than listen to a whole 4-hour bit. Mm-hmm. And I would go in and try to fact check some of the information, and many of the information is close to true, if not true, especially the science information. But in closing the discussion about the final doorway from before, some people who come into this work, and a very small amount of people will be interested in enlightenment and raising levels of consciousness. So if you're attracted to this work, it means at some point in your incarnation, whether it's in this lifetime or a future lifetime, you will enlighten and return back to be reabsorbed to the pure energy of the one mind, of the universal consciousness. But the final doorway, all of this is preparing people for the final doorway. And, you know, whether you get your awakening, you work on your ascension, raising up the level of consciousness, you have master teachers helping you, whether you're working on, you know, through synchronicity to manifest the life or the experiences that you want. And you learn that basically everything is a hologram, is responding to the commands of this user. And you're like, wow, this is all just an exercise on how powerful I am as a creator being. Whether you find some confidence through energy healing like Reiki or QHHT or channeling, or, you know, any of these things, they're just further evidence to show you that you have the power to create your reality, and the spirit world is watching and learning from you, and the universe gave humans the power to return home to it and be reabsorbed if it chooses to let go of its addiction to creation itself. Mm. And that's a hard thing to do. It could take many lifetimes or eons to let go of the game of polarity, because it's fun. And there's nothing wrong with staying in the game of polarity, because no one's better than anybody else. And so, you know, if it takes you a couple of eons to get to the point where, okay, I think I'm ready to let go of the ego and the game of polarity and have my ego death, that's fine too, because again, there's no better. It's just different experiences. And so what is this game of polarity that we have to, you know, we don't have to, but if we choose to,
comment in the chat.
What is it? So let me just go straight to what Buddhahood is in Buddhism. Okay, and very few people are going to be interested in this topic because it's a personal journey.
Tell me, I'm interested.
Okay, well, I'll talk to you.
Selfish today. Sorry, guys. I want to know.
Okay, so at the final doorway, there's no one with you. If you've been channeling, if you've had master teachers, if you've had many lifetimes of angels working with you, the synchronicity, when you get to the final doorway, you're by yourself. It's been all preparing you for the final doorway. And the final doorway is ego death. It's letting go of your personal identity of all these lifetimes. They've been so real. And the way that you have this personal experience is to have an ego so that you have an individual experience for your own personal growth. And again, there's no better or worse. It's just different experiences. But when the universe split off into multiple versions of itself in order to experience itself and grow itself, so the Lord is in every single one, men, women, starseeds, indigos, it doesn't matter. If you are part of creation, you're part of the one universal consciousness. And they've proven this in science, that we're all connected. So when it split off into the game of polarity, it created a physical world in which souls can incarnate, have an ego so they can have their own personal experience, and then move up the evolution of the spiritual evolution if they wanted to. In order to have a physical reality, it also created a spirit world. That's the polarity. It created a spirit world with angels and archangels and spirit guides and all, you name it, all the spirit world. Now, what the universe gave the opportunity for the human creation and creations of this kind to do is to return home, to work on their energy up the levels of consciousness. And if it chooses to, it can let go of its personal identity and the whole game of polarity everything in creation. That means letting go of your attachment to form, your attachment to your identity, your attachment to your house, your attachment to your loved ones, because they are also a split of you. In order for you to have you needed somebody else to reflect back to you that you are you, your children, your family, your kids, whatever. So all creation is split up because of polarity. And so when you finally get to the point where you've had enough of experiencing the wonder of creation and you decide, I want to go back and be reabsorbed into the universal consciousness of the one being, then you let go of your addiction to creation. You're all addicted to creation of the game polarity. And when you do that, now, even if you don't make it to Buddhahood all the way up to like 1,000, which Dr. Hawkins has measured in his lifetime of work, even if you get to 500, 600, 700, you're still going to offset millions of negative people because you reach a high level of consciousness. But for some people who, okay, I'm ready to learn the Buddhahood, we turn to the conscious and get reabsorbed, the void. In Buddhism, they call it the spiritual emptiness, duality, whatever you want to call it. When somebody goes that, what they do is they level, because it's connected here, all of humanity, they level up incarnation, all earths, all realities, all archangels and angels, it's all connected. The person at the bottom, this returns to the void, they level everybody. Save everyone. That's what Yang did. That's what Buddha did. That's what Kuan Yin did. So maybe this will reach out to a couple. But it's a personal choice. I don't know if I could do that. I do love my spouse and my kids. So I might need a couple eons. I don't know. But
I think that's what Geraldine was talking about, right? Yeah, because she was like, how do you let go of that? That's a, because we always say, because isn't everything what we always talk about, it all comes down to love, right? This is love is it a part of being human, or is love the ultimate spiritual ascension part of that? So in other words, does it, like you're saying, does it go from one level to the next, or is it just part of our 3D experience?
Well, there's nothing but love. There's nothing but love. There's nothing but but the infinite. But the thing is the concept of love that we know in terms of like love between people, between husband, wife, children, parents, families, whatever, that is one of the hardest ones to let go of, because the concept of having somebody else love you and not everyone else the same way is a offshoot of the ego.
All right.
Okay. In order to be like a one-on-one love, like I love my daughter, I love my dog loves me, there need to be some kind of separation from the whole in order to have that individual love. It's an offshoot of polarity. So that's a really hard concept for people to grasp. But it is an emotion and a reflection of the game of polarity. But if you can let that go, I mean, it doesn't mean that you let go of people in your lifetime, but you know, when your life is over, if you choose to return to the void, then you have that option. But you gotta let go of all the coming back to experience all of creation. Because
right.
creation is mystical.
And you could be coming back with soul groups you've come back with again and again. So you're talking about more than one lifetime, and it really in all cases. Is that correct? Or okay,
you can come back. You can come back into like a future time. You can come back and just everything in creation is there for you to experience. And so it's very addictive. It's very addictive. How can you let go of the best drug in the world, in the universe, creation, besides creation itself? You're experiencing the fullness of creation. And that's really hard to let go of those forms.